He been yelling at the dog for the past 15 minutes.
Right. Saying you get a treat
I
if
was,
you
I
get
was
your
gonna let all that good stuff how he talked to women. I was gonna let that go out the window. Lay your ass there. And then he feeding them bacon.
right. Get back in the bed.
Cussing them out, making them fat. You make them
They
begging.
begging.
Is that what you said?
Right.
They
You
begging?
making them beg.
Turn your mic back on, LV. Turn your mic back on.
You're making them beg.
Bacon
Okay.
strips. Okay.
You give them bacon and he ain't cheap. All right, John. Where your camera at, John?
Well, you need to wear my camera. Y'all don't see me?
No, I don't see you.
Comey, you don't see him?
There you
He's
go.
fuzzy, but I see
him now.
Okay. Maybe it's your internet again, but that's a different story for a different day.
No. I got time to cuss your ass out. Stop. Stay right here.
I want to say, hey, what's up to everybody? If everybody knows, we got some ice cold brothers in the month of January. We just 1 month off from our Founders Day, but I want to start off by saying, what's up, Coleman? How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Bro, I am feeling great, man. This evening, glad to be repping the pair for the greatest fraternity ever found. And you are exactly right, man. We are 1 month exactly off December 4th, 1906. So I'm glad you brought that up, man. But no, I'm feeling great, John. How about yourself, bro?
Johnny, quick, we can't hear you.
Oh, we lost him there for a moment.
And now he's gone.
I believe. How you doing today, JP? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to see my brothers tonight. How was the holidays?
Shit, the holidays was great. Live and we made it through.
I missed the New Year's celebration. How'd it go?
Man, it went well.
Coleman?
Fell through. LV.
Yeah.
We ate. We chilled. I fell asleep on my guest because I had been up all night.
Yeah,
they played Phase 10. It was good. It was good.
Everybody.
I went to I went to the Gary Owens concert on New Year's Eve.
Did you?
Comedy show, man. Yeah. And so when the show's over, he got a live band. So we stayed over there, brought the New Year's in. By the time we got back to the crib, started putting the greens and the black eyed peas on, it was 2:00. Then I was back up at 7 trying to get everything ready for the people who was coming through. So shit, by the time the very end came through at 8, I was asleep on the couch, dog. John is back. Now see, this is what happens. See, karma is some shit, ain't it? You talk about a man get blanked out.
Right.
Shit, he still
froze.
He been froze this whole fucking time. Cause he ain't moved.
Hey, what's going on with you, man? What's going on with you, LV? How was your New Year, bro?
I had a good New Year, man. It was good and relaxing. Spent with family and friends, which is most important. And my puppy, which my boss tells me that she's a part of the family too. So she give me time off to take her to the doctor and shit like that. So I guess she family too. So
no doubt.
And I don't have to. Oh, is he live or is it Memorex?
I guess my internet wants to mess up today.
And
every time we say something about John, he just gonna go out the show. Every time we say something about
it. Yeah.
and blame the
I don't know
internet.
what's going on today. Because
All right,
I
bro.
might have to connect through my phone. But besides that, I talked about how well y'all doing. So I'm gonna say I was doing well. Had a great New Year's. Had a few people over, enjoyed their company, played a few games, and brought in the new year. Real nice.
What kind of games you play, John?
And I got a question to ask about games.
We played a game called Sequence.
Oh, sequence
Nice.
is fun.
Huh?
Sequence is fun.
Yes, it is. Very fun.
Mhm.
What's your question,
I
LV?
thought y'all played like that ass up. My fault.
I just
No,
want to
no,
know
not this time.
the young lady that was on the cruise, was she back in time to make this event?
She stayed at home.
Okay. Okay.
So you done did something
She
to upset her.
no, she
She
came back
must have
to
saw that show.
no. She came back to from her cruise. Her pipes had busted while she was out of town. So
Mm,
so she wasn't feeling like coming out. So I can respect
that's
that.
understandable.
Yeah.
She
But
you ain't
it
really
was a
in the mood getting ready to come up off that kind of money. Shit.
no. So it was a great time had by all. But she enjoyed her cruise, and I like how y'all come back to her. Good thing I didn't tell her y'all was talking about her.
She
We
didn't
didn't
watch
say
the
nothing
show.
bad.
Huh?
We
She
didn't
No,
didn't
say
watch
no,
the
anything
I
show.
said
bad.
that.
We were I mean, it was like we were, getting her a fan club.
I know. And other people have tried to make her a fan club. So I'm like, yeah, we don't need that attention. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
All right,
So
cool, Bree.
but you know what? One thing I like to talk about because we have had a great year, and I want to start off with LV. We do the good, bad, and ridiculous. So I want to turn it a little bit and ask, what do you think over this year has been good with this podcast? What has been bad, and what do you think has been ridiculous?
I would say the good thing is the discussions that have come up, whether we've agreed or disagreed, because it helps disseminate information out to other people, gives them another way to look at something or another avenue or another way of thinking, possibly. So that's all good. The camaraderie that we all have, even though y'all get on my motherfucking nerves and shit, I still love you motherfuckers, and it's cool to do this shit with y'all. It's fun. Um, Ridiculous. Maybe some of the takes and the extremes that some of us have gone to defend certain people, you know, and the antics that may have transpired in the process. That's probably some of the ridiculous. Um, the
He
the
must be
only
talking about
bad
Kevin Samuel's cousin.
Here we go.
if I could find a bad, is hell, the way y'all fuck with me about cussing and shit. Y'all want to fuck with my freak level and how freaky or not freaky I am. Try to make it seem like I'm just this womanizer because I'm single. Um,
Oh, it's not because you single.
yeah, it,
Oh,
the abuse,
oh.
the abuse. And the thing is, you are the only, you are some of the few select people that are allowed to abuse me, and I can't do shit to y'all because I love y'all, because I know where it's coming from. You know what I mean? But still, I don't like that shit. So that's my only bad.
Okay. Uh, since we talked about Kevin Samuel's cousin, uh, JP, what do you feel is the good, the bad, and
Don't forget,
ridiculous?
R. Kelly is like 53rd down
Yeah.
the line.
I done told y'all that R. Kelly and Kevin Samuels are not included as 50th cousins.
See, I said
We-
53rd. I pushed it even further for you.
They evolved from
I heard R. Kelly has you on his visitation list.
His personal therapist.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Johnny Quick, what was your question?
What do you feel over this year, a little bit under a year, what's been the good, the bad, and the ridiculous of this podcast?
Okay. With this being our final episode, I really wasn't able to come up with anything that I thought was bad or ridiculous. I can only come up with what I thought was good. And what I thought was good was I think we have done a good job of covering as many perspectives as possible. The name of the show is the Alpha Male Perspective, but the goal was to cover as many perspectives of our viewers and our listeners as possible. I think we did a pretty good job of that. So I thought that was good. As far as bad and ridiculous, yeah, I really couldn't come up with anything. Yeah, I think it was just good.
All right, Coleman, do you have a good and bad or ridiculous?
I guess my good is pretty similar to LV and JP. I've known these dudes. I've known everybody over 20 years, and I think although JP and I disagree about a lot, this show was the first time we ever had like a real disagreement where it caused tension in our brotherhood. And I thought that was good because I think to a certain degree we needed that. We needed to know that regardless of the situation, the topic, or whatever it may be, that the brotherhood will withstand and carry on and go through all the things the founders designed the fraternity to carry us through. So I thought that was extremely good. Same with you, John. Same with LV. I think we've all had some disagreements and things we didn't really care for, whether it was said, communicated, innuendo, or whatever it was, that we really worked our way through. And I think we are a better brotherhood today than we were when we started the podcast. My bad is also a good. I think when you talk about alphas and alpha men, there is this perception that we are, I guess you could say, homogeneous, that we are one thing, that we, are arrogant or think that we are elite or whatever the case may be. I think that regardless of whether you're talking about our use of language, whether you're talking about our different career choices, whether you talk about how we approach finances, that we have taken that stereotype and changed it into something where people can say alpha spans every spectrum of man, every avenue of life. It really is something that encompasses everything. It's a part of every aspect of our life. When I think about the ridiculous, it was some of the things that we may have said or done that people didn't necessarily care. Like one of the first episodes when I said I would put old girl mama in the wind back in the day. Or, when we talked about things like Kevin Samuels and all these different topics that came up and we got that feedback. I say that was ridiculous from the standpoint of our intent was stated when we first started. We only want to do good for all people. But out of that ridiculous, it really caused us to grow as human beings. I still say I would have put old girl's mom in the wind, but I would tell you all that I was playing when I would have done it a little bit differently. So I feel like I had to grow from the feedback, criticism, or whatever terminology you want to place on it. I had to grow from some of the said, and hopefully I'm a better person today. And hopefully the things that I say and the intent in which I live is more evident because of the feedback, because of you brothers growing me and making me be accountable. So kind of like JP said, all my bad and ridiculous really turned into good because I think our intent in approaching the show was from a very solid, grounded place. First of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. And we really strove to do that. So for me, in essence, everything was had the ability to grow with you brothers throughout this time frame.
That was really nice. Now I'm gonna tell you the good for me has been just coming together as brothers is allowed me to look at things through several different perspectives. Like you said, we're not monolithic, but sometimes we get set in our ways and we don't look at things through another lens. And so I definitely appreciate the opportunity to hear from three other perspectives on different issues that have moved the needle in a sense on how I tackle different issues or different things because it's made me think outside of this podcast how some things are handled and how things are looked at through what we used to tease JP about the advocating for the victim. I always advocate, but I don't go to the lengths that JP does. But
In
sometimes
depth.
you need to do, huh?
I said
Eh,
in depth. Length
in
and
depth,
depth.
right? And sometimes you have to do that on certain issues. Now, the bad part is a personal bad for me is because I have a lot going on. Uh, Trying to be articulate and seem smart while you're doing the behind the scenes of and making sure everything is working hasn't always allowed me to articulate the things I really wanted to say or do, or and also not having time to actually edit and really produce the show. That's the part that I would say is bad for me is if I had more time, and I'm not gonna make excuses to the competence, but I could have done better. And that's what I'll say. And the ridiculous for me is I want to live the life that y'all have me living with these ladies because I'm not living that life. and I and it's funny because I get messages after the show. I'm like, that's not the life I live. That's not me.
Even even on our last show, he cleaning shit up.
Ain't the last show, and
We gonna call you Hoover.
He gonna clean that mess up.
they
We gonna call
ain't
him Hoover because his ass is
You cannot
vacuuming
clean
some
up the
shit
grown
up.
man experience. You can't clean up the grown man experience. Let it be.
Oh, we have grown man experience, but it's not as wilded out as y'all would make it to be. It's personal, it's intimate, and it's one on one.
And it's nasty. He's nasty, y'all.
we um,
He nasty.
and you know what I think?
He nasty, y'all.
Don't let him play that innocent role. Okay.
I'm I'm as innocent as the day is long.
And he's manipulative. I don't have game. And
I don't.
everything that he says that I mean, in the grown man experience is excellence. It's excellence. But I mean, that's really just you put some bows on it, put it in a nice old gold box with a black bow that was shining. And that's how you wrapped up game. And I applaud you for that. You taught me something. And like I said, I can tell you I can get them. Now the keep them part, that's where I fail. But I can get them. So I mean,
Hey,
maybe
I'm
I can
shy.
keep going if I give that grown man experience version of it. So I
Hey,
thank you, my brother. Thank you for
whatever I can do
sprinkling
to
me.
help,
I
whatever
appreciate
I
the
can do to
sprinkle.
help.
It's all about using
And
your resources, gentlemen.
one thing I like to say to the audience it's our farewell show, but who knows, in the future we might drop a show here and there, just because there might be an issue that comes up. We feel really strong about that. We feel that we may come together and talk about it and present it to the audience. But one of the things I want to put out there is we'll keep the page up for a minute, but if there's some things that y'all have some concerns about, because I know one of the very first show before we really got going, a person posted on our YouTube channel how to help her with her young black males, and so the whole purpose behind this was to be a resource for our community. And because we may not be on the show weekly or bi-weekly or whenever, we're still accessible to help with questions on how to mentor males, how to look from things from a black man's perspective, how to code switch, how to even giving some financial tips. Now I'm gonna put this disclaimer out. We are not financial advisors. We just give you information that has worked for us. But we still want to be accessible because JP is a therapist professionally, so he can give you that type of insight. Coleman is in the insurance field. He knows something about what could happen in different scenarios dealing with insurance coverage, different things like that. LV is in the financial industry with cars, if I'm correct. So he knows some different things on that aspect. And I'm very active in the community with nonprofit, working with youth, working with seniors. So we have a plethora of resources that we have here. One thing that I wanted to open that up with is, since this is the last show, what is one thing that you want to share with the community that may not have been able to be shared during this podcast that we really want to get across? And I want to start off with Coleman with that question.
Um, I guess for me, it's something we actually hit on it a couple of times. I want to reiterate it, and it's financial well-being is a part of health and wellness, and is a part of planning. So, like John said, I'm in the insurance industry, and I'm actually on the homeowner side. But one of the things that I'm really looking at and making sure that I have situated is my life insurance, because I do have kids. So just making sure that as a community, we are looking at our financial well-being. We are looking at how are we taking care of ourselves from a mental and a standpoint, and just trying to be better human beings. And I think along with being better human beings comes financial well-being, comes health, welfare. I think all of those things are tied back to that one component. So just want to make sure that we're looking at ourselves and looking at our community from a holistic standpoint, and not honing in on just singular aspects of ourselves or our community. So, uh, but I think that's what I would leave it with, John.
All right. LV, I want to move to you. What is something that you wish we had spent more time on, or something that we could have shared um, more about that you would like to say at this time?
I mean, we ain't got enough time for me to talk about it for real. I can bring up what it is, and that's really dealing being being a single father and single
Mm-hmm.
fathers that have to deal with a invisible um, other parent. My preferred phrase, I call that type of person an egg donor. and to really elaborate and be able to go into, the difficulties that you face, um, be it you have a male or female child. I mean, not having, I mean, because, may she rest in peace. My mother, I knew my mother loved me. My mother showed me. But to see a child not get that kind of reciprocation and love from their mother, it bewilders me. But then it makes me feel so sorry for that child, because then that child may begin to wonder, well, what's wrong with me that my mama, everybody else mama, do for them, why my mama don't do for me, you know. But and it happens more than we're willing to believe. And I just wish it would have been a way that we could have discussed it. It had not been so you could have actually heard from different people that are actually going through it and their different experiences with it, because it's something that's real. They talk about men being absentee dads and want to call them a sperm donor and all that. In all actuality, all these women do is incubate them for 9 months and spit them out. And like I said, they're basically just an egg donor. And all of the children that happens to may not have a father that has the resources where they can, take care of that child and try to put that
Mm-hmm.
child in a positive position, just like a child that comes along with two parents right there. you know I mean, we applaud single mothers, and I have so much more. I always respected single mothers because my mother was single when her and my dad split. My sister was a single mother, so I never looked down on single mothers. But I understand their pain, and I just don't understand the other side, because me, I can never be a man and have a child with someone and not see about my child.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that would keep me from being there emotionally really is if one of us was on the West Coast, the other one was on the East Coast, and we moved in the same damn around the damn corner. That don't make sense to me.
Well, that's a lot to take in.
Hey,
And
real quick, John,
go ahead.
because I know that was LV's point. Um, but as we would hit on that topic, um, I think the other piece that we would have to hit on is the strength of the single pair and how they morph
Mm-hmm.
and wear different hats and play different roles. Um, I mean, everybody knows LV and I were college roommates, and we stay close to this day. We both live in the DFW, so we had the pleasure, or at least I had the pleasure, of spending both Christmas and New Year's with LV and seeing that interaction. So, as much as we can look at it and not trying to take anything from the point that he made, because I think it's a very valid point of people not being there and the impact it has on kids, but also to see the impact of that parent who is involved, who stays and builds that relationship, and watching that piece, seeing that strength. That's we need to communicate to the general public, because the relationship and communication of a father, I have sons, of a father to his sons is one thing, because I understand what they're going through, because I've kind of been through it. But watching that communication that a JP has with Sashi, or watching the communication that LV has with his daughter, from a man's perspective who's raising boys, seeing that from a girl's father, those are the type of women I would want my sons, because I know they have positive images of male figures. And from that perspective, that relationship that they have with men is going to be a much healthier relationship. No, and I hate to use this term, but there are no daddy issues. There are no issues along those lines about trying to find that father figure. So I would want my sons to date women who had those types of figures, because from that standpoint, that one aspect of it, they're going to be solid, on solid ground and foundation when they try to establish relationships with men. So I think that would be the second part of that conversation that would need to be had about what kind of men are we raising, and what kind of men and what kind of women do we want them to be with, and what is the impact of the fathers in those women's lives. What am I looking for from my sons when I look across and see parents? You know, if I see a crazy daddy, I'm gonna be telling my son we need to step. But if I see a father who's supportive in the light that I can get on board with. So I think that's the second piece of that communication. So not to appropriate what LV's point was, but hoping we can expand that conversation. And if we ever come back and do another show, I think that would need to be a part of that conversation.
Oh,
Yes,
definitely,
I agree.
definitely. Um, JP, I came to you sort of last because it gives you opportunities to talk about what you really want to be involved in this podcast. And also, you can give a plug for your radio show because I'm sure people can definitely pick up on your radio show some of the information that you're about to share. So go ahead,
And
JP.
this
Let's hear from
radio
you.
show is good. I listen from time to time. I do. I even go back on Facebook and watch it on the days after the shit's over. So yeah,
Thank
definitely
you.
worth watching.
Thank you for that, LV. Um, you know, in thinking about, I feel like we covered the subjects and issues that we wanted to cover. Um, I do wish that we were almost done with the show when I realized that maybe we didn't touch on what some of our audience wanted to know more about, and that was relationships. Um, you know, we were 75% of the way through, 80% of the way through the show, um, when I realized that there was a great response to when we would address relationships. And I think it has to a lot to do with the fact that uh, you know, people struggle. Well, we live in a society where 50% of marriages end in divorce. And so when you look at it from that perspective, relationships is a key and primary issue. And there is a particular type of therapy called reality therapy. And the founder of that therapy believes that most mental health issues that people experience are in some way connected to a problematic relationship. And I'm not sure that I totally agree with that because his approach when people come in for therapy is to identify what core relationship, and it's not always like, oh, it's not Freudian. Oh, his mother was this and his father was that. It's oftentimes a romantic relationship that, according to this therapist, that ends up being the root of people's emotional struggles. I don't know if it's to that extent, but I do think that if we do a show periodically, I want us to do some. I wish we would have did more Q&A and answered and responded to people's questions and struggles and anxieties about their connectedness to other people, their relationships, romantic relationships, parent child relationships, whatever the case may be. But a lot of it just seemed to be a lot of interest when it came to relationships. And we had one episode that had a global impact. It's like it was people all over the world um watching that episode that dealt with many different aspects of relationships. And I just was like, I didn't know that relationships was that big of an issue. Yeah, we tease and joke with, you, Johnny Quick, and LV about y'all's interesting relationship exploits. Can I put it like that?
That's a nice way to put it.
That's better than
you
calling
know
y'all
what?
a couple of
You
wild
know what?
boys.
You know what? Your box was gold with old gold metal flakes with an old gold bow on it. That's how you boxed it up.
So I kind of wish we would have tapped into that a little bit. Um, and really, you mentioned a radio show, which is Cognitions Speaking the Unspeakable with JP and Stacy D. And to be totally honest, we don't really address relationships enough on there either. The radio show is pretty clinical in dealing with just a broad range of any emotional or psychological struggles that people might experience. Um, whether it's looking at diagnoses, looking at, like now I'm doing a full series on neuroscience and helping our listeners and viewers to understand how the brain works and how we can prevent our brain from deteriorating as we get older, to kind of fight off Alzheimer's and things like that. But we need to address relationships a little bit more on there too. So I kind of wish we would have got into that a little bit more. I agree with LV that the parenting piece, um, I do also wish that we would have touched a little more on the full weight of single parenthood and the full weight of single fatherhood. As a therapist, I've worked with many single fathers, but I don't think that they get the recognition, and I don't think people understand and empathize a lot with single fatherhood because we live in a society where everybody has always focused on single motherhood. And I do wish that we would have, delved a little deeper into that also. So,
Okay. Well, one of the things that I'm sure people be shocked. I wish we had discussed more of our community and the impact of different issues on our community, because we have a lot of black males or black people in general who are killed by the police. We have a lot of more women are going to college than black males. Touching upon where is the gap, where are some of the ills in our society, what are the norms, what are things that we could do, what are those small pieces we can do to have a greatest impact on our community. If it's getting more involved in volunteering, if it's getting involved in having financial workshops. So for me, I wish we had delved a little deeper into how do we really impact our community. We touched upon a lot of things, and it was kind of scattered or sprinkled throughout. But I think, like you said, having one show that's focused on single parents, one show focuses on relationship, one show just our series that's focused on financial literacy. I think we should have had a series that dug into how do we impact our community and try to make strides to make it better. And so that's one of the things I would have said for me that I would have appreciated a more greater, much greater impact. Um, and
Hey, John,
this,
can I add one piece to that?
yes,
I would have liked to have seen us define community.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yes, because I've had that discussion with people. Because to expand that, once you reach to a certain success, does your community change? And that's been a debate that, like for most of us, we've grown up in what they consider the hood, the inner city, and we've moved to the suburbs. So do our community shift with that? So yeah, that would have been something I would have definitely wanted to touch upon.
You
Uh,
know, I
Go
have a
ahead.
solution for what all y'all saying. Cause see, everything y'all saying pretty much it requires viewer interaction to really drive the discussions and the show. My suggestion, if we do decide to do another show or we do pop-up shows, that we do them live on Facebook. That way people are able to interact a little more easier. And I don't know if when you go live on, I think even when you go live on Facebook, you can join a person in, because I've seen the shit before. I don't know how they do it, but I've seen it.
I
And
will
then
be
that
tech
way,
savvy. If
huh?
we do something in the future, we'll be tech savvy where we can have either call in or join in. We'll have
Because
that together.
if somebody's watching, you know what? You don't like what I'm saying or you disagree. Shit, don't hide behind. Don't be no motherfucking Twitter fingers. I attack Twitter finger motherfuckers. Show your
Yeah.
face. You see my face. Your Twitter fingers can be mean about how you disagree, but look me in the eye and disagree the same way. I have respect for you because that's your opinion. I'm not gonna try to down you for it, but I think it'll drive more interaction, and that would entice other people. They some cool ass motherfuckers. They might not like what you say and shit, but they ain't putting you down. They let you get your spiel out. If we have to go to music on your ass to get you off, we'll go to music on your ass to get you off. Instead of just saying shut the fuck up. But that would be my suggestion. Y'all can take the cussing and shit out if y'all want to. All that, Well, actually, you can't cuss and shit on Facebook like that. I don't think. I think.
But
I don't know.
I agree. That would have made the show much more interactive. I wish we had thought about that. The whole Facebook Live thing. I think it would have been much more impactful to have that interaction, and for listeners or viewers to be able to immediately comment and that whole thing. So yeah, if we do any pop-up shows, I definitely would like for us to utilize that format.
Oh, it will definitely happen.
Y'all get a chance to watch that grown man experience in action.
No, they'll be able to ask questions about it.
Oh, I guess he froze now.
No.
Lots of questions.
What I'm saying, if that's something that
Somebody calls in on, we gonna sit back and let the master work.
No master, no work. I just answer questions.
Professor, Mr.
I think
PhD.
he was worried about who would call in.
Let me tell you, like I tell anyone else, I am not worried. Whatever I have is secured, so I have nothing to worry about.
That's my man. My man.
Big pimpin' shit, right?
My man. My man. That's what I'm talking about.
That was his way of saying, call in if y'all want to. I'm ready.
Y'all want
Exactly. Because if it's somebody I'm with, they're secure in knowing the fact that they're the one and have no worries about anyone else.
The one and only when I'm with you.
He didn't say only. He just said they're secure.
See, I like how you try to pick at the words and try to change what I'm saying. No,
because I'm like one and only.
Listen,
come on now.
Listen, I teach my sons words have meaning. So I attack words.
And I tell Lyric that listen to what little boy want to try to talk to you. Listen to exactly what he say. Hold him to what he say. Ain't what he meant to say. You said this.
Exactly.
That. So
see,
if you didn't do this, she can't say fuck you right now, but I'm sure behind my back she done heard me cuss. She done heard daddy go on a tirade. Not at her, but
right.
She done seen me watch football, so hey. She know how it
But
is.
see, I don't have the gift of gab. I have the art of communication. So
Put it in
I'm a
that box
wordsmith.
again, y'all. I see. That's that grown man experience. That's what I'm learning. I'm absorbing. I'm like a sponge.
But hey,
Thank you, Jonathan.
like I told one of my friends, I told her I'm just a simple man living a simple life in a simple world.
That's that talk your drones off talk.
Ain't it though? Ain't like you said before, that old big pimp shit.
He is in full grown man experience
Hey,
mode tonight.
That's not me.
So for you young fellas who think of and all of that, listen to how he manipulates words. That's what you need to learn to do to get you a woman.
He did say something that I would have liked to have hit on in a show, and we kind of hit on it. I think one of the shows that I hosted, the art of vocabulary. I think that because we do so much on Twitter and social media, that we have lost the fine art of communicating, especially with the opposite sex. I remember when Lover did one of our initial shows and we were talking to Lover, and Lover made a comment. She said, "No, I never really like to talk to Coleman because Coleman say stuff to you and be making you think, when you know it's wrong, right?" And it just gets back to saying, how do we talk? Do we have the art of communicating? Are we teaching men and women how to communicate with people? Because when you not master, but when you are a communicator, oftentimes bullshit falls by the wayside, because people who bullshit a lot are oftentimes not the best communicator. They may be good in situations, but communication is something that is a skill set that transcends and takes you through various topics, areas of life, and all of those other things. And I think that's one of the things that we show through this podcast, was that we all have the ability to communicate, and we can weave in and out of how we use language, the art of language. We'll be talking with JP and we'll be talking about having a drink, and then next thing you know, we in a full-blown session on the impacts of alcohol on Black families. And that isn't just his knowledge base of as a therapist. That was the art of communication, and being able to take a topic and take that general playful topic and then weave it into a therapy session, and then to watch LV take that same topic as we're in therapy and bring us out and bring us back on the other side. We showed the ability to communicate through topics and in various means, just like, the time John said, well, he chooses not to cuss, and he chooses to make that his example of intellect. And we were able to all come back and say, you know what? That is a great thing that you're able to do. And we see the benefit in it, while also being able to explain that cussing does not take away from your intellect. It allows you to express yourself in a different way. But I think the art of communication and having a show that deals communication, the various types of communications, how we take it through personal, business, and every aspect of our lives, and every relationship that we have, and how we weave those things together. I think that could be a show within itself, and it could even be titled The Grown Man Experience, because based on everything that John has said about the grown man experience, the one thing that I've taken away is the grown man experience is a communicative style. It's a communicative that he uses, and it is really inherent who he is, which really makes it applicable to the people that he deals with. It's just communication. So I would have liked to have seen us, jumping back, and I apologize, I would have liked to have seen us do a show on communication, the art of communication, and how we utilize that in both professional and personal. And I think we could have done a whole show just on that.
And we talk about how JP goes into these deep, in-depth therapy sessions, but I want to take a pause for the cause because we never acknowledge how Mr. Coleman likes to pontificate on various topics as he's interwoven into these different segments and talk about how we bring these all together and how they all are connected on some basic level. We've never spoken about how he's able to do that. But hey, I pause for the cause because I'm not as gifted as Mr. Wordsmith with the poetry from time to time as Mr. Coleman does elaborate sometimes.
That is a skill set.
Fucking with me.
That's the truth.
Yeah, that's what I get. That's what I feel. That's how I feel. I'm just telling y'all. I'm telling y'all about my inner feeling.
Hey, check it out. Let me break it down. For those
No.
who may not have understood, my hood people. So basically, John just called Mr. Coleman out on how he so eloquently uses the English language and brings everything that we talk about in so eloquently and uses such. And what did you say, John? You said pontificate.
Pontificate.
That's like, basically, so to make y'all understand, y'all know how Stephen A be using all the big ass motherfucking words and be looking try to be all intellectual and shit. He's saying Coleman is doing a Stephen A impersonation, basically, on how he tie all the shit in. So then Coleman.
Okay, quiet as kept. I think you just said that.
I gave the message. I just interpreted the message by other people. That's all. Just like when I had to do it with JP. Even though he around pissing on graves and shit.
But I digress. Because tell me where I'm wrong in this matter.
But
Because
basically it goes back to our communication, like they were saying. I ain't gonna say we can teach you, but
right.
we just want you to see that I may not speak the way I understand, and that's the communication. You need to people are saying to you, so you know
Right.
how to respond, and it may
So you can formulate a response
as eloquent as there. It can be like it's above a 12th grade level,
Right.
and they all
Coleman
understand.
just sits over there. He sits in the cut, just sitting back there like, okay, I'm tired of y'all dumbing this down. Let me go ahead and bring this up to another level and allow
But
people to
John,
know
we see the
I'm
pain in
smart.
your face when you dumb it down. You right there with
You know what I'm saying?
We see
He the one who
pain in
hates
your
stupid
face when
people.
you try to do it.
No.
When you can't dumb
Listen.
it down, you just shut up. You shut up.
Listen,
Instead of dumbing it down,
we all
okay, I'm done.
Leavenworth Road / Quindurl. We all can communicate with the hood. I mean, no, John didn't say that. LV, you said it. That's all I got to say.
Don't shoot the message, bro. It's the message. I just interpreted the message.
But
hey, I'm like that science person for that one governor in Minnesota. She was into that.
And they found out her ass didn't know sign language too.
no.
No, they get over in Africa.
Ain't that the one they prosecuted because she was just up there. She was just up there doing sign. Yeah.
Oh my God.
She came on the scene after the first one though. Because that first one, that little chick, she was a little skinny lady. Because the governor or whatever was talking, and she was just, and you just see she had facial expressions and shit, and like she was like hitting them hands.
You know what? I'd have to look it up because one of them didn't know sign language.
Right. The second one that came
the black guy over in Africa at Mandela's funeral.
Yes, she up there. They like, that ain't sign language.
That is crazy.
Exactly.
It's all about communication, people. Just like everybody has said, you need to be able to understand. And what's that one word y'all say about crossing over? What's that shit?
Oh, you talking about code switching?
Code switching. See, I learned that shit from them. I just know how to talk with any group of people I'm with. I listen first. When I walk into a room, I don't know people. I listen and see what kind of conversations are going on. What level are they talking on? Because I never want somebody to think that I'm better than they are and that I'm talking down to them. And on the other turn, I ain't gonna let no motherfucker think that I'm stupid. I might look
Right.
stupid, but I'm not stupid. And when you try that bullshit, I'm gonna check you so intellectually and with a smile on my face. Now,
And
you may have some fear with some of the words that I use because I have friends that have taught me a vast vocabulary. And I can repeat it because I know what it is. And I know how to,
But just like Coleman's at the this far spectrum of using the English language to the best of my ability, because he far exceeds my capable skills of using the language. But the other part that's funny on the other side is when you mention that hood. The part that always is funny to me is when Gerald has that moment like, I don't know anything about this hood that y'all talking about, and it's written all over his face. What is Black Twitter? What are you talking about?
Y'all did teach me about Black Twitter, and I still live in the hood. Okay, I ain't in the suburbs. Yes, I learned.
It's a mansion in the hood.
Right.
I'm in the hood.
Listen, JP. Listen. Now, let's be honest. Let's
Y'all hear gunfire
Hey, but listen.
outside right now.
Let's be honest though. We all know that community that we used to as kids and be like, man, because remember that's where all the doctors and them used to live up off in Gerald spot.
Yes.
And them doctors, they ain't moved. They just old now.
That old money.
He in West Height.
Yes.
I didn't even have to tell you where. I didn't even have to tell you where. And you knew.
LV, don't start. It's still in the hood.
Let me put it to you like this. He said it's in the hood. Let me explain it this way. You know how
a lot of those homes have reached antique status now. All you can't.
They're landmarks, right?
Right.
And let me tell you, he said it's still in the hood. Let me explain something. What he means by that. You know how the White House is in the hood? That's how his house is in the hood.
See, I have a cousin that has a house up in West, and he on the edge basically. You probably in the heart where all the roundabouts.
He in the heart,
right?
Yes.
He in the heart. Listen, bro, I was 18.
I know y'all hear that gunfire while we doing this podcast. I know that.
Listen,
you know what?
I was 18 before my dad even allowed us to drive through there.
Right.
I was 18 before they even let us drive through there, man. Talking about, I don't want y'all going to jail. They see us up in that area. Cause you ain't got no hood stuff.
Hey, I had to walk through there.
You don't have it.
After football practice.
You don't have any hood stuff.
Walking from Wyandotte.
Yes.
Like, we couldn't be playing around acting stupid walking. When we walked through West Height, we was
picking them up, putting them down, picking them up, putting them down, picking them up, putting them down.
Until we got down there close to 18th Street.
Y'all trying to rob me of my hood status.
Ain't nothing.
You robbed yourself or your hood status.
Right. We're not talking about buying a $5,000 day bed for the hood.
Okay, listen. I want to say something about our communication. I like how, because I hadn't thought about it until after we started doing the show. But basically, I agree with what y'all are saying, that we covered a broad spectrum and was able to speak to a broad base of viewers and listeners to the show. Because yes, you have Johnny Quick, who romanticizes the English language, and then you have Coleman, who articulates and speaks the King's English, and then you got LV, who's like, okay, let me break this mess down because we gonna keep it all the way real. This is what these fools are saying. I think we covered a lot of bases. I think that anybody watching the show, by the end of the show, they knew exactly what the hell we were saying. And that's good. You know, it appealed to everybody. So I do like that. Yeah, that was a very good aspect of the show. On top of, you know, the topics and the debates, I love them debates that we was having.
Oh yeah.
Actually, them debates.
Well, you know,
If we could record the
I'm-
after show, those would be hilarious.
well, you know what? I
We
think
need to have need a Patreon account for them to get that kind of shit, John.
Right.
But you know, I
What were you
think
gonna say,
when
Carl?
Gerald talked about his radio show, second part of that title is Speaking the Unspeakable. And to be honest with you, I was not prepared for the unspeakable, right? As a therapist, JP has this ability to hit on topics that may be controversial, challenge you on, and the way that he challenges you can take you to your core because he is trying to get to your core issues. He's trying to get to the core issue of the topic. And the rest of us work in corporate America. In corporate America, we do not challenge to get to the core issue, although we want to understand what the problem is. We have HR departments that stop us from using language, probing, and certain things to really get to the core of issues. So JP will be laughing and going through an issue and making very valid points. And over here talking about if I was in Kansas City, I'd do a drive. But he talking about he hear gunshots. He'd be hearing glass flying because I'd be shooting at his house because he's getting to these core issues. And for him, this is simply what he does. This is simply part of therapy and getting the core issues. And I don't think coming in that I understood this technique because JP and I, throughout our entire relationship, it has always been a mutual relationship where we're talking about things and topics, we having fun, and even on stuff we disagree. Oh, fool, I disagree with you. And then we go on and have a drink and we go on and kick it. You know what I'm saying? And just, have this love. But on this show, we're dealing with topics and he was drilling in because he really wanted not only us to grow, but he wanted our audience to grow and really get his point and get to the. We'd be sitting over here, you looking around the screen, it's like steam coming out of all three of our windows. And then you look over there, but it's just as bright as day. You like, oh, I love this debate. We like, boy, you about to get killed tonight. And I think that as we went on, we understood that more. And the debates got better because it wasn't personal. It wasn't an attack. It was really us trying to grow individually and also trying to help our audience and really get them to issues. And that's where those various perspectives came in because he didn't just challenge LV or a Coleman. He challenged John and then he challenged himself. And then he'd come back and be like, okay, I might have been a little bit off on that. And, he admitted to being late. He went a lot of places with that.
Him coming with his
That was
pad.
what.
He
Listen,
come with his pad
listen.
and his research. I've researched on this.
Listen,
LV,
but
in the
LV,
1800s, such and such
LV.
was.
But LV,
When you really want
in
to
the
be
in the
into
30 in the 30 years before this, you never knew Gerald to acknowledge it once. That was a big step for him.
It was, but you can't give him that much credit for
That was,
it.
Right.
dude, that was a huge step for him. He admitted to being late.
He still
He admitted to being late.
you said, we got over 30
You know what I'm
years
saying?
of bad credit with him on this shit. So he's still in there. I'm glad.
Right.
I'm glad now he's able to.
I can't catch a break.
And then to prove himself right, he'll come back. Well, you know, time was actually started in the 2000th century, and when they at the clocks, they didn't exactly exist. So actually, I'm not late. I'm just happen to be here on time because of the modern clocks we're using. If you check the history, you'll see I'm right.
Yeah, he had you reading that. No doubt. He had you reading the Sun on that time shit. I mean, no doubt. But if we ever were to do a pop-up show, no slack. But if we ever were to do a pop-up show, I think that has to be a part of the title, Speaking the Unspeakable, you know, the alpha male perspective, speaking the unspeakable, because we're hitting on all these various points. Like you say, LV, your language may be more colorful than some of our audience would entertain. I may be more, I may want to pontificate more than, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Gerald may want to give more of a therapy perspective. You know, Little John's going to give us more of that grown man experience and everything that he does. But more importantly, he brings that economist and also that working man. And what I mean by that is working himself through college, through his organization, the nonprofit, working through his corporate job. He brings that working man perspective because it's always grinding through whatever he's doing. So I think that speaking the unspeakable would have to be something we consider if we did any pop-up shows, because I think that was one of my biggest growth pieces from is the way that Gerald did that and the way that he challenged me. And he had challenged me within our friendship in ways that he never had. And he still did it from a place of love and caring and all of those things. And that was something that I really had to grow in our relationship for. And then look at y'all and be like, okay, well, am I challenging LV not just because of who I know he is, but do I challenge him based on who I know he's capable of being through his mom and his daughter's eyes, because he's and love as well. So I think that aspect, I think that aspect would just be a whole nother growth piece for us.
So basically, y'all, what he's saying, and I know
fuck you, man.
Really
did they understand that?
Yeah.
Did they understand that? I wonder if they understood that.
See, that whole thing was really a personal attack over here, though. And that's why I'm addressing this shit. Basically, what he's saying, yeah, we need to do this shit, the unspeakable shit. You need to go ahead. You know what? If you expose some things you didn't really want to expose, that's the kind of shit we need to do to really get people involved and help other people. That's what he's trying to say. And he know what the fuck I'm talking about. Other people don't know. Yeah, they understand. Yeah, and what you say? Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, they.
You know what? Didn't I send? I sent you an invite for next year's New Year's, didn't I? I'm revoking that shit.
No, you didn't.
He gonna show up anyway.
Yeah,
right.
We'll be tied up
right.
in 2 years about that shit. So
listen,
I'll be there.
Listen. Don't show up. My sisters would be like, "Where's he at? Why he ain't here?" I told him he couldn't come, and then I can't come to my own shit.
Right, because we 30 years in, so we are beyond invitations.
They do shit that they not really get at them. How if somebody else came to me, he really thought I was gonna let that ride. He thought he got some shit to him later, but hell no.
No, I really think that I knew you was gonna jump on it sooner or later.
Yeah,
you ain't letting nobody slide on nothing else.
Nothing.
Yes, I do.
What is it, Nathan?
You know what?
Just because I ain't said nothing, don't mean I ain't figured it
out. This last little camaraderie we've done here, that's pretty much how the overall podcast was supposed to be. for people to look into how we really interact. And I don't know, throwing on letters make us going back into the day when we really clown, brought out the more clown today. But I think this is a good point to
I'm
end
still
with.
ain't exposing myself. Shit, letters and respect, especially in letters. Now I have more respect for my organization than to. I
Oh,
mean, hey,
we have. We're not talking about you
some
taking your
people
shirt
not
off
gonna
and
do
rubbing
it.
yourself. We're not talking about that.
Because, like, you know, I was once presented an opportunity to maybe for a movie career, and I let them know that, hey, you know, I always had to have a shirt on. And they was like, well, why? I'm like, well, you know, I have some brands on my body, and, you know, I can't be displaying these brands in this kind of, you know, production out of respect for my organization.
When he no,
On that note, we gonna end it here, and who knows? You probably see us sometime in the future. But till then,